afraid for these 5 years, or was it more just it was a control thing and it was just uncomfortable, or was it like a fear and oh my goodness? What was the emotion, I guess is what I'm saying.
There were desperate times when I just would have given anything to I would have just taken a bag and my son and just walked out if I could have. I never felt that I could do that. He was having me followed, so it was just feeling of trapped. I wasn't fearful day in and day out. Frustration, I think, is probably the emotion that I felt the most. I was completely creeped out by the fact I was being followed.
Well, explain that. He was following you for what reason?
He was having me followed. Again, without having been in his insane mind, I don't know why the following. I think maybe he thought I was cheating on him, and he was trying to catch me at that. I don't know why he was having me followed, but everywhere that I went, I would see there was a car. And once I figured out that that car didn't belong to anyone in my social circle or any of my classmates or any of the other teachers where I was teaching, I figured out that that car was following me, and I would see it everywhere I would go. The mall, I would see it at school, I would go by my grandpa's house for a visit, and I would see the car everywhere I went. So I don't know why he was having me followed.
And so you said once he physically assaulted you, you were able to have James removed from the house. What happened after that point? Like that should sort of, you know, most people think that's where the story ends.
Oh no, not at all. Well, again, when you're dealing with someone who is a psychopath, or maybe is not necessarily a psychopath, maybe a sociopath, I think he definitely could be, diagnosed as either of those things. But once you take away the power that that person has, and that's what I did by having him arrested and taken out of the house, he did everything that he could to exert what power he could over me. And unfortunately, the only power he had over me was our child. And that's when the book, for me, it takes a nasty turn, because before it was just him being nasty to me. When he started being nasty to me using our child, that's when it got really bad for me.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I love about the book, is the feeling of how much mother love is in this book. You know, whether it's your mother-in-law or the love you have for your children, or you know the relationship you have with your mother. It rings through so many of the chapters. It's just beautiful. And I just wondered, was that a motivation, the amount of love that you have for your son? Was that a motivation for the courageous experience that you went through? Did that keep you strong?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Everything that I did, the decisions that I made, were for Brian. You know, from the time that I was pregnant with him, before he even entered this world, the decisions that I was making to try to ensure his safety and his happiness and his security. And some of the decisions as we were going along, I tried really hard to make my marriage work, because of course a two-parent household is an ideal situation. But no matter what I tried to do and tried to deal with James, and okay, we'll move and we'll start fresh, and we'll move and we'll start fresh, and you'll get a new job, and I'll do this and you'll do that, and we'll start fresh. And we kept, you know, I kept trying to do these things. The choices that I made were for Brian's well-being, I thought. But when it got to the point that things were so bad at home, James was no longer hiding any of his emotional distress. He would just scream and yell at me and throw things at me, and you know, things had gotten really bad. And one scene in the book I wrote about that Brian threw a frying pan at me and called me a bitch, and he was 2. You know, that was the point that I just looked at him and I thought, oh my goodness, you know, this is not an ideal situation. If he's going to grow up thinking that that's how a man treats his wife, then I'm doing him a great disservice.
And so, once you started into the court proceedings, I'm so confused by what happened to you. And I don't know if you can even answer why it occurred. Like, my understanding is that generally the mother gets custody and about 60% of the assets, and unless the man wants to fight her because she's not a fit mom. Tell the audience about your experience with the court system, and do you know why things happen the way they happened?
Well, I think that the problem with the court system can be a couple of different things. There has been a large shift in the court system, I know, in that particular area in Florida. It used to be very mother-friendly. The mom walked in, it didn't matter what kind of person she was, she got custody and the fathers got some visitation, and the mother got the house, and things were very lopsided for mothers. In their efforts to pull back from that and give fathers more rights and give fathers more considerations in the court, which of course I think they should have, and should be fair, they went from being mother favors to a father's rights. It's just gone completely rampant. My story is only one of many, many stories that I know of in my research for, when I was writing my book, and a friend of mine who went through, and a friend of hers that I know through her, and then a friend of hers, and there's a whole network of women who have had their children taken from them through this court system with no basis. There have been women who have gone through things, the men just bombard them with court action and hearing after motion, and the women just spend their lives fighting in the courts. And a lot of women, like in the situation I was, I couldn't afford a lawyer, I couldn't get the help, and that's the case with a lot of women. Here they are, they've separated from the husband, they're getting no spousal support, they're getting no child support. Maybe they have a job, they have to have a job to support the children because there's no welfare system that works, that women cannot work. So here they are, they're taking care of the children on their own. They've got a job, so they don't qualify for legal aid because they've got a job. So it's a real catch-22. They can't get help, and then they end up in these situations in courts. And the judges are so father-friendly, and that's one explanation that I have. Another explanation could be that James was able to deceive his lawyer and the judges just like he did me and charm the pants right off them, and they thought that here's this poor pitiful guy who's just being wronged left and right, and we've got to do something for him, and he would turn on the tears, and the man never stepped in church, but he would come in with his cross and his polo and his,
he played the part.
He played the part of the father who was just, and he could cry, and maybe they felt for him, maybe they thought that I was a horrible person, which he painted me out to be. He hired a lawyer, and a very good one, and so the combination of those things were lethal for me, because a good lawyer, a sympathetic court, and a father's rights system, he was just guaranteed.
And so, could you explain to us the emotion that you went through when your son was saying, no, I don't want to go visit Daddy, please don't make me go, and you were having to, oh no, it's going to be great. Like, what was that like for you?
That was probably one of the hardest things that I had to do. Again, because I love Brian, and because the best thing for him was for me to encourage and support and smile and wave and let him know that he was going to be happy and safe with his dad, and he was going to have a good time with his dad, and knowing full well that that's likely, because I knew him, I knew what James was like, and he was so obsessive about things that I knew that Brian wasn't having a good time when he was there. Unfortunately, so many of us have to go through this. You've got children and you're divorced, and the children have to go.